Penn State University in Philadelphia, this segmented robot works on just that principle. When it wants to move quickly, it can roll into a wheel, but then it unfurls to move like a mechanical caterpillar through narrow gaps. And it will take the loss of several of its segments to bring it to a halt. Giving a robot segments means it can behave even more like a centipede, making use of serpentine movements to move at high speed. The wheels on this robot are not powered. They merely allow the robot to glide over the floor, driven by its centipede-like undulations. But it's also possible to have the best of both worlds, of technology and nature, by combining wheels and legs. These robots do just that, hence their name, WEGs. This is, in essence, a cockroach on wheels. Wheeled legs give these robots the advantage of wheels, but with the roach's ability to negotiate obstacles. But roaches are still much better at covering rough ground, even at top speed. It only takes a slight change to their control system to allow them to do this, something that attracts as much envy as admiration from robot designers. And something else roaches do without breaking stride is climb up vertical surfaces. They do this by using tiny claws on their feet, which hook into any irregularities on the surface. How they attach and release these hooks is the secret to their success. A secret that has been unraveled by scientists at Stanford University. They've produced SpinyBot, a robot that can climb vertical surfaces using cockroach-like claws and an ingenious mechanism for hooking into the tiniest of cracks. Some insects can go where even roaches fear to tread. Flies have little trouble in climbing up smooth surfaces like glass, where a roach's claws would have nothing to hook into. A trick that's down to the fine details of the fly's foot. Magnified more than 1,000 times, a fly's foot is covered in huge numbers of tiny hairs, each of which ends in a flattened plate. The fly oozes an oily liquid into the hairs, which sticks each of those thousands of plates onto the glass by a process called liquid adhesion. The same thing that causes a beer mat to stick to a wet glass. Robot designers have looked at flies, but concluded that robots that leave oily footprints wouldn't be a good idea. Especially when there are bigger creatures that can climb smooth surfaces that might be easier to mimic, like tree frogs. The frog's feet are covered in mucus, but they don't seem to work in quite the same way that a fly's foot does. Because the frog is so much bigger, the mucus on its toes would have to be thicker to stick it to the glass, and then it couldn't unstick its feet. After all, climbing is as much about letting go as hanging on. When scientists looked closely at this mucus, they were surprised to find that it's not much thicker than water. Easy for the frog to lift its feet, but not sticky enough for it to hang on. The answer to this mystery lies in the fine detail of the frog's toes, a precise pattern of hexagonal plates. Each plate can move separately to line up with any irregularities on the surface, and the canals carry away any excess mucus that might separate the plates from the surface. At smaller scales again, each plate is covered with tiny bumps, the tips of which make close contact with the surface. So close that it's friction that stops a frog sliding down the glass. Which is making car tire manufacturers sit up and take notice. Perhaps new and safer tires based on the toes of a frog? But for sheer sticking power, nothing beats this creature. A gecko. Geckos can race up a vertical wall with no problems. And they can even hang upside down from the ceiling. It's been calculated that a gecko's feet are so sticky that it could support a weight of 25 kilograms before it falls off. All this on dry toes with no kind of adhesive whatsoever. Again, the secret lies in the microscopic detail of the gecko's toes. Like the fly's foot, the gecko's toes are covered in a dense mat of hairs. Moving closer still, each hair branches at the tip into dozens of microscopic hairs, each of which is so tiny that it can get incredibly close to the surface of the wall. So close that it can feel the forces that attract molecules together, the van der Waals forces. The molecules of the gecko's hairs and those of the wall are drawn to each other, and the force, magnified millions of times by the huge number of hairs, produces the incredible stickiness of the gecko's toes. But with such sticking power, unsticking is a real problem. The gecko has to curl its toes to unpeel them from the surface before it can lift its foot. Scientists have developed a sticky tape covered in microscopic pillars that works on the same principle as a gecko's foot. But before they can use it to build their own mechanical geckos, they have to work out a way of unpeeling it, so the robot isn't just